So what's a tip that you can use to make your voice better? Now, I'm going to reveal the answer to that in a second. But first, if you're interested in voice, my name's Alex. I'm a voice coach. Subscribe, hit the like button, all those things, if you want to hear more about voice. And today I'm going to talk about voice tips and why, you should avoid them. You should be very, very wary. So yesterday, but I will give you three things. Yesterday someone asked me the question that people often ask me when they find out I'm a voice coach. They're like, give me a tip. What's one tip that you can give me to improve my voice? And people will often, when asked that question, experts, teachers, whatever, feel compelled to give a tip. They'll be like, you should do this or you should do this. But here is why. I'm going to give you 3 reasons why you should avoid first asking people for tips like that. But you can use it as a test. If someone does give you a tip, you should be wary of that person perhaps. Because firstly, one of the reasons I hate tips, we live in a culture of top tips. You find them on social media, you find them on like Instagram, TikTok videos, and people will say, don't do this. You should definitely not do this, or you should definitely do this. Or if you don't do this, your voice progress will completely tank. Or if you do this, your voice will instantly become amazing. And the problem with these is they're not applicable to everyone. In fact, probably like the vast majority of tips that you see out there are not applicable to you, to your specific situation. Or they are, but they're with a lot of changing. And this happens in all fields, but like in particular with the voice, I think, which is such there's so many differences between people's voices and things. But if you start to do something that's not well tailored to your voice, you're basically going to end up either exasperated by this whole idea of being able to change your voice and give up, which is not what we want, or you're going to actively hurt your voice at the worst, and that's really, really not what you want. So that's the first reason to avoid top tips, is that they are they're just not catered to most people. And by the time you understand which ones apply to you and which ones don't, you don't need the top tip in the first place, I find. So number 2, what is the reason that I do not like top tips? Well, I think that they serve a very good purpose online, in that they sate our curiosity. So you see them, you're like, I want to know the answer. What's the top tip to have a deep and commanding voice? And you hear the answer that person gives you, and maybe it's got helpful things in it and maybe it doesn't, but your brain goes, okay, now I know the answer, and then it goes away and it goes and does something else and never completes the practice or the exercise. So one of the difficulties with these sort of top tip things is that we've got to recognize that we're not actually looking at them because we want to get our voice better. Most of the time we're wanting them because we have this curious desire of if it would be possible to change our voice to be deeper and more commanding. And usually the answers to these questions is, yes, it usually is possible to change your voice in a way that, or not change your voice, or find a ways to do things with your voice that you didn't know were possible, that are way more interesting and advanced than you maybe even thought possible. So to take it as yes, probably you can. But that's looking at those kind of top tips is usually just a trap. It's a social media trap. It feels nice. It's like popcorn, although actually popcorn can be quite healthy, but it's like popcorn covered in syrup or something, it's just like we're just eating it. It's like, it's good, want more, but you're not hungry. But you're not really doing it to... the metaphor falls down there with popcorn. I don't know what the healthy end of voice work in comparison to popcorn is. I'll move on to the third point. So the third point of why I think top tips are not particularly helpful in voice is that the most useful thing, and this actually applies to quite a lot of fields, particularly those that are related to the human body, really what you want to learn is principles. And principles you can learn them in a small video. Totally. You can absolutely learn principles, or you can learn about principles, I should say. Someone could say, these are the principles you can follow. Or if you have this particular situation, then you can apply these principles. And usually those are the videos where you look at them and go, okay, if I wanted to apply that, I would have to watch a bunch more YouTube videos or do a course or work with someone to be able to actually know how to implement them. And actually, those are the most useful ones, the ones that make you go, it's more complicated than I thought. It's not just a top tip, but I can now sort of see a path, and I can see that at the end of doing that path, I would be able to do that thing. And so principles are usually, there are a bunch of principles I teach for voice. Things like release versus reanimate, things like bravo for warming up your voice. I've got like loads of little models that I use, but you apply them in a particular time when they're necessary. And so particularly with the voice, which is something that people haven't really thought about, be thinking about, okay, well, what are the principles I need to learn in order to be able to achieve what it is I want to achieve? And I suppose that's maybe a fourth one, a final one, which is knowing what you want to achieve is a first step. So I'm going to stop it there. We had three reasons I don't like top tips. One, they're not really applicable to everyone. Two, they just sate our curiosity, but they don't usually get us to change. And three, they are not about principles usually. They're just about just sort of tips. Anyway, if you're interested in voice, if you're interested in any top tips, maybe I'll do a video about top tips and then completely turn it on its head. I don't know. But if you're interested in voice and learning about voice, then there's a lot of noise in the background. Hit subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bell icon, sign up to the wait list for Voice Lab if you're interested. It'll be in the description. And that is all for today. Goodbye.